It's just now starting.
We will
Please.
begin with you. You have 60 seconds.
Okay, let's just get started.
First, I'd like to acknowledge my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm one of 7 kids, born and raised in Wrightsville, Georgia. My parents taught me about faith,
It's already
family,
fire. It's already
education,
fire.
and the love of country.
But so is the top of the hour ad break. At the top of every hour is a 60-second ad break. I'm going to run it right now.
America's dream.
It's on,
This
baby.
ain't about me. It's about what Raphael Warnock
We're back.
Biden had done to you and your family. Tonight, he's going to try to sweet talk you that he's doing a good job, but his record speaks for itself. I'm here to tell you that they've raised your taxes, gave you high inflation. They even put men and women's sports. And I want to let you know that Raphael Warnock, we give him 6 more years, think what he's going to do. So I'm here to fix it.
Mr. Walker, thank you. Senator Warnock, we turn now to you for your opening statement. You have 60 seconds.
Well, thank you so very much. And hello, Georgia. It's so wonderful to be back here in my hometown. Now, I know that we're in a debate tonight, but really I come with a deep heart filled with gratitude, probably because I grew up about a mile from here in the Caton Homes.
Obama beats Greek
housing
kebab. Thank you for the
projects.
20 gifted subs in
I'm one of
Hitbox. Thank you for the
12
5. Here's the
children
woman ad
in
break
my
now.
family. Clearly, my preacher parents read the Bible. Be fruitful and multiply. When
Let
I
the
think
people
about
know,
the arc
juice
of my
this.
life, the short distance and the long distance from there to here, I know that only in America is my story possible. My family taught me the importance of hard work and how to build the beloved community that Dr. King used to talk about, and I brought that spirit to the Senate. At the end of the day, this race is about who's ready to represent Georgia in the U.S. Senate. I think that choice is clear, and I look forward to having that discussion tonight.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. Gentlemen, we have a lot to get to this hour. So we will start tonight with the most important issues facing Georgia voters.
Our next star, Emerson College The Hill poll shows the economy, threats to democracy, and abortion access are the top 3 issues. We're going to begin tonight with the economy. Everyday Georgians are struggling. They're struggling to pay for food, gas, child care, housing. This week, the inflation rate continues to rise. Mr. Walker, we're going to start with you. You've been openly
Damn, bro,
critical,
Georgia doesn't give a
blaming
fuck about
President Biden
abortion.
and the Democrats for inflation and for the economy. If elected, what is one idea that you would champion to
No bar for abortion, boys.
specific? You have 60 seconds.
Well, first of all, you have to blame this administration and Senator Warnock because within 2 years, this inflation has gotten worse. They cut our energy independence. They also raised taxes. And at the same time, they reckless spending all our money. So he would sit here tonight and say that he's doing a good job for us, and you ask me what is one job I would do to help the inflation. First of all, we got to become independent, energy independent again. And the reason why, we're going to our enemies to ask for gas and oil. And that puts us not just in an inflation problem, but it puts us in a national security problem. And I think that's something that I think Senator Warnock need to realize. And he mentioned that he grew up here in Savannah with 12 siblings, Well, in this area, most people live paycheck to paycheck. And when you have inflation the way he's brought inflation on, how in the world can you buy grocery or gas for your family?
A follow-up question to that, Mr. Walker. Most economists say that cutting government
He's doing
spending
better
is the
than I
first
thought he would
step
be.
in economic recovery. I would want to ask you, would you consider cutting military funding or spending on social services to accomplish this goal? And you have 30 seconds.
I would not think about cutting military spending because first, I believe in peace through strength. Right now, we're at a brink of war, and I think right now with Senator Warnock, who he and Joe Biden, they don't show any strength, and we have to protect this country. And I said it early on, right now, because we're giving our energy up to our enemies that don't like us, we have to be ready for war. This is not a playground. So we have to be ready for war right now.
I'm not going to lie. I think there's enough dumb people that sound and think like Walker.
You've supported nearly every piece of legislation that this administration has pushed through Congress. Do you take any responsibility for the financial hardships currently that Georgians are facing? And you have 60 seconds.
There's no question that people are feeling pain at the grocery store, at the pump, at pharmacy counters. And while we are paying record prices, a lot of our corporate actors are seeing record profits in the oil and gas industry and the pharmaceutical industry, which is why I've stood up for ordinary, hardworking Georgia families time and time again. I passed the single largest tax cut, contrary to what my opponent is suggesting, for middle and working class families in American history. And we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which had two of my provisions. One, caps the cost of prescription drugs for seniors, so they don't have to choose between buying medicine and buying groceries. And one caps the cost of insulin. He said he would not have voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, and I think he should tell the people of Georgia why he thinks they should have expensive insulin and why the pharmaceutical companies should be able to charge whatever they like.
Well, first of all, may I respond? You know, I believe in reducing insulin, but at the same time, you got to eat right, because he may not know, and I know many people that's on insulin, and unless you have eating right, insulin is doing you no good. So you have to get food prices
they'll
down.
die if they don't have it, brother. What the fuck?
You need to pat yourself on the back, but right now, families are starving. Right now, families are hurting, and they're hurting because of
What?
the bills and the laws you're passing right now.
Hey, man, if you got type 1 diabetes,
I meet people all
die.
the time in my church who are trying to manage their diabetes. I've been there when they've gotten the news that they've got to get an amputation. And I think we're hearing from my opponent tonight that it's their fault that prices of insulin are being gouged. I don't think it's their fault. I think it's the fault of these pharmaceutical companies. Insulin's been around 100 years. The patent was sold for $1. They're engaged in price gouging, and too many people in Washington think they work for the pharmaceutical companies. I work for the people of Georgia.
Well, he's in Washington.
Can I finish? I work for the people of Georgia.
Yeah, but you're in Washington.
And
You
that's
said
why I stand up for them every
You're in
single
Washington,
day.
and you're the leader.
Mr.
You're
Walker,
in
let's
Washington, you're the
move
leader.
forward if we can. A follow-up question to you, Senator, in 30 seconds. Georgians need help right now. In your opinion,
Right.
is the answer another stimulus check, or is there a better option out there to deal with this right now?
We passed the Inflation Reduction Act. He's already told you he would vote against it.
It didn't reduce inflation.
He's already told you that he doesn't believe in capping the costs of prescription drugs for people like my 84-year-old mother.
No,
I don't think they should.
I didn't believe in
I don't think she should have to
Mr. Walker,
choose.
let's let him talk.
Yes.
You'll get a second.
I don't think she should have to choose between buying medicine and buying groceries. And that's why I've stood up for her, and I've stood up for hardworking families every single day, and I've stood against the corporations that are being bad actors. They're seeing record profits in the middle of a pandemic.
And
who exploits a pandemic?
Gentlemen, we need to move on to our next topic in the interest of time, so that's election integrity. Tina, it's all yours.
All right, Buck, thank you. Senator Warnock, this question is for you. You have said the new Georgia voting laws implemented after the 2020 election create many obstacles for underserved communities. Yet, there was record turnout in Georgia in the primary this May. According to research done by the Brennan Center for Justice, the African-American vote grew approximately 50% from 2018 to
Bro, did they pay the fucking moderators? What is this
Senator,
framing?
explain how the law negatively impacts minority votes. You have 60 seconds, sir.
So I have spent my whole career long before coming to the Senate fighting for voting rights, because I believe that a vote is a kind of prayer for the world we desire for ourselves and for our children. We register people to vote in my church. And in the Senate, I've stood up for democracy because that's the framework in which we get to fight for all of the things we care about. There is no question that SB 202 makes voting harder, and that is the intent. And the fact that many of our voters are overcoming this hardship doesn't undermine that reality. They've made it harder for folks to use the drop boxes. They've shortened the registration times. Folks are saying, you know, you shouldn't have to, you should be able to get food or water in a line. I think the question is more fundamental than that. Why are the lines so long in certain communities and not others? And so I just want to encourage Georgia voters to keep showing up. Don't let anybody take your voice. Don't let anybody take your vote. It took too much to get here, and I'm honored to represent you in the United States Senate.
Senator Warnock, thank you. Mr. Walker, we move to you now. In 2020, Georgia became the epicenter for questions on voter fraud. We'd like to hear your thoughts in 60 seconds. Did President Biden defeat former President Donald Trump in 2020? Again, sir, you have 60 seconds.
well, first of all, I need to mention that he said that SB 202 really it made it easier to vote and harder to cheat. And she mentioned that more people turned out for the primary. So you gotten good at in Washington not answering that question, because that was the question she asked you. And did President Biden win?
That is the question.
President Biden won and Senator Warnock won. That's the reason I decided to run. Because we need a change in Washington. We need leaders that's going to stand up to foreign leaders. We need people that's going to stand up for people in Georgia. Because Senator Warnock, he went to Washington, but he forgot about Georgia. And I want to stand for the people of Georgia. He just mentioned he's standing for the people of Georgia, but can he tell me why he voted with Joe Biden 96% of the time if he was standing for Georgia? That tells you that he's for Joe Biden, I'm for Georgia.
Mr. Walker, thank you. Now, before we move on, gentlemen.
I'd like to respond to that.
I will give you that opportunity, sir. I will give you that opportunity, Senator. You have 15 seconds to respond.
It is very clear that my opponent would rather be running against anybody except me. But
I'm happy to run against
there are only
him.
two people who are going to sit in this seat, either me or my opponent. And I think this race is about who's ready to represent the people of Georgia, and I'm thinking about them every single day.
But if he cut from the same cloth at 96% of the time, I'm running he and Joe Biden because they're the same.
Gentlemen,
Oh, dude, what are they? Oh, no, they packed the crowd with fucking also equally CTE victims.
this is for both of you, Senator Warnock. Yes or no, regardless of who wins in November, will you accept the outcome?
Yes.
And Mr. Walker, regardless of who wins in
Yes.
November, will you accept the outcome?
Yes.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Buck, over to you.
Thank you, Tina. We turn now to the topic of abortion. We're going to start with you, Mr. Walker. A week before this,
Bro, debates are so insane. It's like easy mode for Republicans. Do you think Trump won the election? How is that a
In an
question?
ABC News interview this week, you said that the accusations are, quote, all lies. For the voters
We play
watching
with fucking
tonight, can you
cutie
explain
gloves, man.
The circumstances surrounding these claims. You have 60 seconds.
Well, as I said, that's a lie. And you know, what most thing I put it in a book. One thing about my life is I've been very transparent. Not like the senator, he's hid things. But at the same time, I said that's a lie. And on abortion, you know, I'm a Christian. I believe in life. And I tell people this, Georgia is a state that respects life, and I'll be a senator that protects life. And I said that was a lie, and I'm not backing down. And when you have Senator Warnock, people that would do anything and say anything for this seat, but I'm not going to back down because this seat is too important to the Georgia people for me to back down right now.
You've been vocally pro-life, supporting a ban on abortions without exceptions. Would you support a complete ban on a national level?
Well, first of all, see, that's not true.
Bro, has he gotten an abortion
I
or
support,
not?
The heartbeat bill. And I say I support the Georgia heartbeat bill because that's the bill of the people from Governor Kemp. And I said that has exceptions in it. I said I'm a Christian, but I'm also representing the people of Georgia, and that's who I represent. So what the people of Georgia stand for, I'm going to stand with them.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Senator Warnock, you've said repeatedly that the exam room is too small for the patient, her doctor, and the U.S. government. We're asking you to take a clear position right now. Do you believe there should be any limitations on abortion set by the government? And you have 60 seconds.
I think that the women of this country and the women of this state woke up one summer morning and a core protection that they've known for 50 years was taken from them by an extremist Supreme Court. And I stand where I've said I stand in the past, that a patient's room is too narrow and small and cramped a space for a woman, her doctor, and the United States government. We are witnessing
Dude,
right
he seems
now
too political.
what happens when politicians,
His answers are also too political, and the questions are insanely
You get what you're
framed,
seeing
like
right now.
so reactionarily framed.
The women of Georgia deserves a senator who will stand with them. I trust women more than I trust politicians.
May I respond?
Very quickly, Mr. Walker.
You know, it is, and I heard about him. That I heard he was a neat talker, but did he not mention that there was a baby in that room as well? And also, did he not mention that he asking the taxpayer to pay for it? So he's bringing the government back into the room.
If he had that dog in him, he'd be like, "Oh no, you should be paying for it, right, Herschel?"
It's like I've not seen too many pastors that would say that statement.
Mr. Warnock, I'll give you a chance to rebut.
I am a pastor. I'm a man of faith. And I have a profound reverence for life and a deep respect for choice. And because I have such a profound reverence for life, it's one of the reasons why I've stood up to address this issue of maternal mortality in our country. We lead all of the Western nations on that front, and black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die even when they have the insurance and the income. Now, that's something government could actually do something about. And I joined with Marco Rubio of Florida to pass a bill to address maternal mortality. The women of Georgia have a clear choice as we're watching women die. Do you want a senator who wants to control your life?
Get nasty with it,
Or do you want a
Raphael. What
senator
the
who
fuck are
wants
you
to save your
doing?
life?
Well,
I want to save your life.
Talk about his allegations. Rip into him.
Very quickly.
Because he told me Black Lives Matter. And if you think about it, Senator, in Atlanta, Georgia, there's more black baby that is aborted than anything. So if Black Lives Matter, why are you not protecting those babies? And instead of aborting those babies, why are you not baptizing those babies?
Senator Warnock, I'll give you a chance to respond to that.
I think the women of Georgia have a clear choice. He says no exceptions, even in the case of rape, incest, or the life of the mother. I think that's extreme, it's out of touch with Georgia, and I intend to do the work that senators can do.
See, he didn't
Mr.
read
Walker,
the,
we've got to move
heartbeat
forward.
bill, though. Wait, he didn't
We've
read
got
the
to move
heartbeat
forward, Mr.
bill,
Walker.
that there is exceptions for that in the heartbeat bill. So when he
All
made
right, I'm going to
a
ask you to
statement that
respect
is
Mr. Walker
untrue,
that we need to
and I
move
do
on, okay?
respect
We've
that,
got
but
a
Senator, you
lot
have
to
to
get
read
in
that
tonight.
bill.
A follow-up question for you, Senator Warnock. We ask that you take a listen to something that you said at a rally just a couple of weeks ago.
So women, I trust women and their wisdom and their ability to sit with their own doctor.
That's right.
And if they choose, to sit with their pastor. And to pray about that and let their own conscience guide them.
Make that decision. That's
Even
right.
God gave us a choice.
That's right, didn't he?
Even God gave us a choice. Can you clarify what you meant by that? You have 30 seconds.
Oh, I think it's self-explanatory. God gave us a choice, and I respect the right of women to make a decision. These are medical decisions.
What is that?
They're deeply personal. Women find themselves in a range of circumstances, and this issue has been far too politicized, and we're witnessing right now the chaos that ensues as a result of that. And women right now who may be facing a miscarriage in some cases are wondering what will happen and how will they have to explain that. I think that's deeply problematic. There are enough politicians piling into the rooms of patients, and I don't plan to join them.
But just to clarify, in your opinion, God gave us a choice in regards to abortion.
It is apparent that God has given us a range of choices, and the people of Georgia have a choice right now about who they think should represent them in the Senate.
And may I have to respond?
Mr. Walker,
because-
we do have to move
Yeah, I
on to our
agree.
next
This will be
topic.
very short, very short.
You know what's
because
funny? They don't
he's
want
correct.
Walker to respond because he's a fucking idiot.
But
That's
also,
why they're
if you
cutting
read
him
the Bible,
off.
If you read the Bible more, God said, choose life. In the Bible, it says, I give you a choice. Just like Adam and Eve had a choice, but they chose death.
Very
And
quick,
God
rebuttal,
said, you
very quick.
choose.
Mr. Walker, we need to move forward.
I think he wants to arrogate to politicians more power than God has.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. We're going to have to move on to our next topic, okay? Tina?
Okay. We are moving on, gentlemen, on the next topic, and it is about student loans. We turn to
You know
Christian
this
Dent,
motherfucker's
a
brains
college student
doo-doo when he's talking to a reverend about the Bible.
in Grove, Georgia.
What
As
the
a college
fuck?
student at the University of Georgia, me and my peers are often faced with confronting the rising costs.
Oh my God, his name is Christian Dent.
In the United States Senate, will you support further forgiveness of student loan debt? And if so, how will you implement it in the United States Senate on a federal level?
All right, thanks
Look
to
at
Christian
Tim.
for that question. Senator Warnock, your answer, please, in 60 seconds.
I wouldn't be standing here tonight if it weren't for low-interest student loans and Pell Grants. And in the years since I've graduated, that path has gotten harder. I ran into a couple on a flight, and they wrote a note for me. They were with their one-year-old son. They said, whatever you do, please do something about this student debt. The mother said, I borrowed $35,000. I paid back $20,000. I still owe $30,000. And that's why I pushed the president to do student debt relief. He did $10,000, and with my urging, He did 20,000 for folks with Pell Grants. I think it was the right move. It will spur entrepreneurship, home ownership. It helps kids in technical schools and vocational schools, not just four-year colleges. But we need reform. We shouldn't be doing this again 10 years from now. And I'm working right now on the kind of reform we need because college is outpacing the price of everything else in our economy.
A follow-up for you, sir. Why do you believe this should be done through executive action instead of Congress? And also, how would this be funded? You have 30 seconds.
The president has already moved to do student debt relief. And there's additional relief for folks like me who, when they got student loans, were Pell Grant eligible. But there's no question we need reform in the system so that we can get the cost of college underway. We don't find ourselves here again.
Why are they not asking fucking
And that's my
Walker?
position. Thank you.
Senator Warnock, thank you. Mr. Walker, to repeat Christian's question, will you support further forgiveness of student loan debt? And if so, how would you implement it?
Well, first of all, you can see that.
60 seconds, sir. I
Yes,
apologize.
first of all, you can see that Senator Warnock has gotten good at being in Washington because you asked the question, why did Congress not do it instead of the president doing an executive order, which is what should have been done. And as I was traveling around the state of Georgia, I talked to people. Some people that wanted to go to college, they couldn't. So they ended up going and working on father's farm. Some military wanted to go to college, they didn't. So he went to the military, may have lost an arm. So this is not right. Georgia people say it's not right. They said it's unfair. First of all, how can you transfer?
That's my take, motherfucker, not yours. What is this?
To someone that don't owe it. And also, Senator Warnock brags about making $400 billion that now the taxpayer, all you in the audience, got to pay for. You got to pay that debt. And I didn't co-sign for anyone's loan.
That's not true.
I hope no one out here co-signed for anyone's loan because I didn't co-sign for anyone's loan.
That's not true.
Right. It's not fair.
That's a lie. Will the moderator say anything about that? That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's not true.
Follow up for you now, Mr. Walker. College tuition, it skyrocketed. 175%.
He didn't even answer the fucking question. He didn't answer the fucking question.
What will you do to stem the cost of higher education going forward?
Well, first
you
of
have
all,
30 seconds.
First of all, what you should do is get rid of federal funding of any college that raise their costs. Get rid of federal funding of any college that raise their costs. That's the first thing that you should do.
So that is what you would do. We're asking what you would do.
Well, any college that raise their costs, I get rid of any federal funding that they're going to get.
Thank you.
You know,
We're moving on.
I find it interesting that folks are offended
Senator Warnock,
yes.
I'm going to give you this one. I'm going
Low-key, not the worst idea, but also,
I will be very brief, I promise.
I feel like that would make it a little bit more costly.
It's interesting to me that folks who have been crying about the student debt relief haven't said anything about multi-billionaire corporate entities who've gotten PPP loans. I wonder why Mr.
We're going to move on. We're moving on. Thank you. Thank you, Senator Warnock. Your time is up. Mr. Walker, we are moving on.
Yes,
we're going to move on to minimum wage, gentlemen. We have a lot to get through tonight. We've made that clear at the top of the hour. So let's get as many questions as we can in because Georgia voters want to know where you stand on these issues.
You got him a little bit there.
They have to make a decision. Let them know tonight. Buck?
Thank you, Tina. Now, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, 14% of Georgians live in poverty. The federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, a number that has not increased since 2009. Let's do this by a simple showing of hands. Raise your hand if you support a federal minimum wage. Okay, Mr. Walker, you did not raise your hand, so I'd like to ask you, first of all, why not, and what would you do to help struggling Georgians?
Well, when you say a federal,
what?
I think right now, and he said that I want the federal government. No, he wants the federal government to run your life. Right now, I think you have to work with different corporations and see just where they can pay. There are some companies right now.
Yeah, let's ask corporations what they want to raise it to.
The All-Star game moved out of Atlanta. They destroyed a lot of small businesses. So those small businesses couldn't pay $15, $20 an hour. So they have to pay what they're capable of paying. So to mandate a federal fee that they have to pay hourly wage, no, I couldn't approve that.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Senator Warnock, you did not raise your hand, so why not, and what would you do to help struggling Georgians?
I believe in the dignity of work, and I believe in the dignity of workers. I watched my dad work really hard to take care of his family, and I've seen what we call essential workers, these folks who are on the front line, stand up for us in the midst of the pandemic. We call them essential workers. They deserve an essential wage and essential benefits. In other words, workers deserve to participate in the prosperity that they are creating for others. And so I've been a part of this conversation around the minimum wage. I think people need a livable wage. And some of that is being addressed right now in this strong labor market. So I'm willing to work with folks in the corporate community as well as the labor community to figure out how we get to a good place. There's no question people deserve to participate in the prosperity that they're creating for others. They deserve a livable wage.
I don't care.
And they deserve
He didn't even raise his fucking hand. That's crazy.
Senator Warnock, we're going to move to our next topic. Tina?
And
That's
that
crazy.
topic is crime and violence. In June, Congress passed the first bipartisan legislation to combat gun violence in 30 years. According to a Pew Research poll released in July, 78% of Americans think the new gun law will do little or nothing to reduce gun violence. Senator Warnock,
that's not radical liberal shit, man.
Shootings in Georgia and across the nation continue to rise. What should be done? What should the next step be to solve this issue? You have to answer this question, sir, and I give you 1 minute.
Well, I'm glad that we finally passed the first gun safety law in 30 years. And we did that on a bipartisan basis. I believe that this law will indeed save lives. And I'd like to see us work and see what we can achieve beyond that on a bipartisan basis. My heart goes out when I see the kinds of tragedies that we're witnessing all across our state, all across our country. And it's the reason why I have passed legislation to support law enforcement. I passed the largest investment in the COPS program in a decade. I introduced legislation called Invest to Protect that's endorsed by the sheriffs of Burke County and Scriven County because it supports some of our smaller law enforcement entities. So we've got to stand up with law enforcement, but we've also got to create opportunity.
Senator Warnock, thank you. Mr. Walker, we're posing the same question to you, sir. In 1 minute, what should the next step be to solve gun violence?
Well, first of all, any law or bill passed that will affect anyone's Second Amendment, I'm not going to stand for and I won't support. But third, to hear Senator Warnock talks about supporting law enforcement is sad because he's called them names. And because of the name calling he's done, the morale is down, recruitment is down.
Dude.
Only because of what he's done.
Raphael Warnock called law enforcement names and morale is down. That's why they're not doing their jobs.
And because he believes in no cash bail, is releasing prisoners, he don't protect the border. Fentanyl is coming to this country and also into Atlanta. 70% of the drugs coming from the border goes to Atlanta, Georgia. And he talks about the police. I have more sheriffs that has endorsed me than anyone running in Georgia right now. And I even have some sheriffs here, and they've endorsed me because they know I have their back, they're gonna have my backs. So to listen to him say that after calling them name, I think it's a disgrace.
You should turn around and be like, do you think you're a sheriff still, yes or no?
I think I ought to be able to respond to that.
I don't want to hear about violent crime from a guy who used a weapon on his wife. Say it!
Time and time again tonight, as we've already seen.
Fuck!
My opponent has a problem with the truth.
He's never answered a question. Be like, your brain is fucking broken. You can't answer questions.
I have supported our police officers. I've called them and I've prayed.
He's like, bro, I know you say I'm a politician now because of the way I don't answer questions, but you can't answer questions because you got CTE.
You can support police officers as I've done through the COPS program, through the Invest to Protect program, while at the same time holding police officers, like all professions, accountable. One thing I have not done, I've never pretended to be a police officer. And I've never threatened a shootout.
Woo!
And I have to respond to that.
We
Whoa!
are moving on,
I have to
gentlemen.
respond to that.
Grab his dick and
what's so
twist it.
funny? I am work with many police officers, and at the same time,
Mr.
Pastor-
Walker, Mr.
Wait.
Walker,
No,
Mr. Walker.
He did
Mr.
not
Walker,
flip-
Excuse me, Mr. Walker.
When he
Please,
said a problem
out of
with the
respect,
truth,
They're trying to get him to stop because he's blowing it.
You are very well
Yes.
aware of the rules tonight.
Yes.
And you have a prop.
Yes.
That is not allowed, sir. I
Yes.
asked you.
well, it's not a problem. This is real. And he said, I have a problem. I never worked with law
It is considered a
enforcement.
prop, Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
You're very well aware of the rules, aren't you?
Well,
Aren't you aware of the
he
rules?
brought up the truth. Let's talk about the truth.
Thank you for putting that
Yes.
prop away. And as a matter of fact, we still have a lot to get to, and we are not going to continue this. We're going to follow up with a question, and this is according to the CDC. Homicide is the leading cause
I told
of death
you!
for African American youth. Mr. Walker, in 30 seconds, why do you believe this is happening, and what would you do to stop it?
Well, what I was
He's like,
doing-
I'm a cop.
Which is Senator Warnock not doing. Believing in no cash bail, no accountability, that is a problem. People must be accountable for their action. And the truth lies with Senator Warnock, because he said he was going to Washington to represent Georgia. He went to Washington to represent Joe Biden. That's the reason we're in the mess we're in today, because he represents Joe Biden and not the truth for Georgia.
Senator Warnock, this follow-up for you, same question. What do you believe homicides among African American youth is growing? Why are those homicides growing, sir? And how do we stop it?
Well, it's heartbreaking. And I've seen this up close as a pastor. I've presided over some of these funerals. I've met with young people. And we have to have rules and laws in the society.
Say it's
which I
poverty.
support
Say it's
and I've
poverty.
invested
Say it's
in as a
poverty.
legislator. At the same time, we have to create opportunity. There's no sickness like the loss of hope. When people lose hope, when they doubt that their life can be any longer, or that they can dream of something bigger than the street they live on, a lot of things can happen. I grew up in one of those neighborhoods, but I had a nurturing family, and I benefited from good federal public policy, like the Head Start program, like Upward Bound, like
Good.
Pell Grants and low-interest student loans. And to invest in our children is to invest in our best resource.
Senator Warnock, thank you. We are moving on, gentlemen, to the next question. And this topic is about personal integrity. Buck?
We're going to shift gears a little bit here. Senator Warnock, in 2020, you tweeted this: unemployment benefits have expired, rent is due, and many Georgia families are at risk of eviction. My opponents are supposed to be serving the people in Washington, but they are clearly concerned with their own interests.
They're
Recent
such
published
fucking
reports say-
assholes.
Talk about a property that your church owns, Columbia Towers at MLK Village in Atlanta. It's
Oh, this is an
home for the
attack.
disadvantaged. At least a dozen lawsuits have been filed by residents evicted for not being able to pay their rent. Some of the outstanding balances are less than $30. As someone who receives more than $7,000 a month for a housing
This is
allowance
insane.
from Ebenezer Baptist Church, how do you explain this to Georgia voters who are struggling currently to make ends meet?
Well, let me say that serving in the United States Senate and continuing to serve my church is the honor of my life. And it gives me a lens through which to do the work that I'm doing. But here's why you know I'm running against a desperate candidate. Anytime a candidate would stoop to the level of trying to sully the name, he and his allies, to sully the name of Martin Luther King Jr.'s church and John Lewis's church, you know that's a desperate candidate. Let me tell you about my church. My church is a Matthew 25 church. We spend every week, every day feeding the hungry and the homeless. They know that those false charges that they've created are not true. We stand up for poor people every single day, and I ran for the Senate to do at a policy level what we do at a local level every
That's
single day. I'm not going to
insane.
be distracted by him and his allies.
That is insane that
My
that was
people
brought
know
up,
the
dude.
truth. They know the work
And the
we do
way
every
that he
single
brought
day.
it up.
And I couldn't be prouder of them. Proud to represent the Senate and proud to serve Ebenezer Baptist Church.
So just to clarify, your position is that the allegations in these lawsuits are not true?
I am saying that it is very obvious that my opponent and his allies are busy trying to sully Ebenezer Baptist Church.
Now you see
That's
the
what I'm
problem
aware
with the
of.
truth.
Switching gears a little bit here, sir. Your ex-wife filed a lawsuit
Yes.
asking for increased child support, saying that she had to pay for child care on days.
Bro,
that your
what
duties
the
as a senator
fuck?
Interfered with your parenting time and citing significant.
That's
increases in
crazy.
your income.
He's just ripping into fucking. What is going on? He's hitting him with a 1-2.
Listen, I went through a divorce, like a lot of people. And while that was a painful period, what came out of that was 2 amazing children that I just talked to before I came on this stage. And my children know that I am with them and for them, and that I support them in every single way that a father does.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. Now to you, Mr. Walker. Recent ads have highlighted allegations of past domestic violence. They've raised questions about how transparent you've been as far as your resume. In 1 minute, how do you respond to voters who question your integrity, both personally and professionally?
First of all, I've been very transparent, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. And I say I had a mental problem, and I'll be a champion for mental health because so many people suffer from mental health. But to have people like Senator Warnock that demonize mental health, when I want to tell everyone out there, you can get help. Don't listen to Senator Warnock and his people. You can get help. All you got to do is ask. All you got to do is ask. But the problem with the truth, you just saw it. You just saw it because he won't answer that about evicting the people from the church. And I told him I will pay I'll pay their salary. You're evicting them right now during these hard times.
We have not evicted. We have not evicted those
I didn't write the article.
I didn't
write the article. And most of the people out there steal my time.
I'm okay with the discussion. If you start talking over each other, we have to move forward.
We have not evicted the
I can
tenants.
speak, Senator.
And he should take that money and pay it back to the veterans that he exploited while pretending to run
that too. And see, you can tell that he's not desperate because if he had read in that thing, he would have saw that I had nothing to do with that. But he is so desperate right now, and he really wants that seat. He's now telling you, I didn't evict anyone. It is written in the paper. I didn't do this. Well, Senator, you did. And it's okay to speak the truth.
Wait, so the paper is right when they're talking about his church evicting people, but they're wrong when they're talking about his abortions?
Walker, to keep this moving, I want to follow up with you. You have been very open on your, Mr. Senator Warnock, we need to move forward here. You have been very open about your struggles with mental illness, and you even wrote a book about your diagnosis of dissociative identity disorder. We recently asked if you were still receiving treatment, and this is what you had to say.
No, that's all done, and you don't need to, and that's why I tell people. I think one thing I told people is I've been open about
Bro,
it.
they said you were mentally ill, but hey, no longer, right? You said this in an interview. What the fuck?
Mr. Walker, in 30 seconds, can you clarify this? Are you saying you no longer have dissociative identity disorder, or is this something that you continue to this day to manage?
No, you don't have to have treatment for it. And I encourage people to continue to talk to people. I talk to my pastors. And I continue to get help if I need help. But I don't need any help. I'm doing well. But that's the reason why.
Bro, this dude pulled out a fucking fake badge.
Mental illness, you can get help. All you got to do is ask. And I will always be a champion for mental health.
And just to clarify, how can Georgia voters, though, be assured that this will not impact your ability to lead if elected?
Because I'm ready to lead today. I'm ready to vote with the Georgia voters, whereas Senator Warnock has voted with Joe Biden 96% of the time. I'm ready to vote with the Georgia voters today.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll move on to our next topic. Tina?
And that topic, gentlemen, is health insurance. Georgia is one of 12
They're going to be like,
states.
Raphael Warnock, you want to kill people who are ill. We have no evidence for this, but we think you want to. Care to comment?
With more than 1.5 million
Care to
Georgians
comment
uninsured.
and clarify.
In 1 minute, is it time for the federal government to step in to ensure all Georgians have access to health care?
Well, right now, people have coverage for health care. It's according to what type of coverage do you want. Because if you have an able-bodied job, you're going to have health care. But everyone else have health care is the type of health care you're going to get. And I think that is the problem. And what Senator Warnock wants you to do is depend on the government. What I want you to do is get off the government health care and get on the health care he's got to get you a better health care. So that's what I'm trying to do, to make you independent rather than dependent.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Senator Warnock, you have 1 minute. You've vowed to close the Medicaid gap by expanding access coverage in the Affordable Care Act marketplace. So this comes with a $50 billion price tag, the national debt already at an all-time high. Where is this money coming from? You have 60 seconds, sir.
Where's this money coming from? Oh,
This is
I want
not
to
a
fucking
theoretical
kiss
issue.
myself.
When I think about healthcare, I think about Lori Davis, a trauma nurse in Covington, Georgia, who spent her career taking care of people. And then she got sick and she had to give up that job. And as she got sicker and sicker, she found herself without health care. She was one of the 600,000 Georgians in the Medicaid gap. She died for lack of health care. And so I ran saying that I would fight to expand Medicaid. Georgia needs to expand Medicaid. It costs us more not to expand. What we're doing right now is we're subsidizing health care in other states. Meanwhile, we've seen 10 hospitals in this state close, 10. And the Atlanta Medical Center right down the street from my church, where I visit my members, has announced that it's going to close. And so Georgia needs a senator who believes, like I do, that health care is a human right. And I will continue to fight until the working class people, by the way, the folks who don't have health care, they work every single day. The folks who are in the gap,
and I believe in that
the folks,
extension of
let me
healthcare.
finish. The
And your
folks,
time was
the
up,
folks who
Senator.
are in the gap, the folks who are in the gap are the working poor.
We are moving on, Senator
And I
Warnock.
believe in health care, but he didn't mention
Listen,
that he
Mr.
got-
Walker, if I can get
Yes.
your attention, please. In just a few weeks, Wellstar will close its doors. This is Atlanta Medical Center, which primarily serves patients in lower income and minority communities. Hospitals nationwide are dealing with nursing shortages, doctor shortages in the wake of the pandemic. Mr. Walker, what measures can Congress enact to ensure everyone has access to hospitals and doctors? You have 30 seconds, sir.
Well, first of all, Senator Warnock was correct that he believed in working with people, but he didn't do it because Governor Kemp has a plan that would have been a very good plan. But he stood back while Biden destroyed the plan. And he's talking about he believes in the extension of it. He stood back. Well, what the people can be assured of is I'm willing to meet with hospital administrators, meet with people rather than writing a letter.
Stop.
Because Senator Warnock waited till they made the decision and wrote a letter. And I said they don't need a pen pal. They need solutions.
We are moving on now. Senator Warnock, that same question to you, sir. What measures can Congress enact to ensure everyone has access to hospitals and doctors? You have 30 seconds.
Well, clearly he doesn't have a solution. He
said I'll meet with administrators. That's a solution.
He said
You didn't do that.
his solution is to meet. My solution is to pass legislation, which I've done. I got $4 billion in the American Rescue Plan to help the non-expansion states to do what they should have done to expand. They left that money on the table. Georgia left 600,000 Georgians in the Medicaid gap. And so I'm going to keep standing up because people are literally dying for lack of health care. Dr. King said that of all the injustices, inequality in health care is the most shocking and the most inhumane. I agree with Dr. King.
Thank you, Senator Warnock. Buck, now the next topic.
Thank you, Tina. We're going to talk about foreign policy now. Russian President Vladimir Putin has threatened to use nuclear weapons in the conflict with Ukraine, prompting President Biden to claim that we are on the verge of Armageddon. Senator Warnock, if nuclear weapons are used, how should the United States respond? You have 60 seconds.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that we are standing up to Putin's aggression. And we have to continue to stand up, which is why I stood up to the Biden administration when it suggested that we should close the Savannah Combat Readiness Training Center. I told the president that was the exact wrong thing to do at the exact wrong time. And I'm glad that I was able to stand up with Congressman Buddy Carter and others. And we kept that training center open. I've seen up close what those service members do. They are the tip of the spear. And we have to make sure that our service members know that we have their back. We have to strengthen our allies and the NATO alliance as we've done and make sure we stand up
People
to
of
Russian
Georgia.
aggression. Nothing could be more important.
Mr. Walker,
Love to
the same
hear about
question
that.
to you. If nuclear weapons are used, how should the U.S. respond? You have 60
Well,
seconds.
first of all, he talked about standing up. You didn't stand up to Chuck Schumer when you could have got a helicopter company here of almost $1 billion. You let it go to New York. You didn't stand up then. You didn't stand up to Biden when he left American people and had 13 military soldiers
Answer the
killed
question.
in Afghanistan. You didn't stand up then. So what we can do is Putin is a bully. And the way you beat a bully, you show strength. Well, Senator Warnock said he stood up. He not stood up to Biden. If he was standing up, he wouldn't have voted with him 96% of the time, which gave us an open border, which gave us high inflation, which gave us crime in the streets. And he talking about standing up. He didn't stand up. He have laid down every time it came around, and you know that, Senator.
It is evident that he has a point that he tries to make time and time again. I've stood up to the Biden administration so that they could keep open this Combat Training Readiness Center, stood with our congressional delegation to do that. I've worked across the aisle time and time to get good things done for the people of Georgia. I worked with a senator from Texas to build out I-14. I worked with a Republican senator from Alabama to help Georgia farmers get their products to market. I will work with anyone and stand up against anybody I need to stand up against to get good things done for Georgia. I work for the people of Georgia.
We need to move forward to our next topic, gentlemen. Our time is running short. Both of you have strong backing from your respective parties. Senator Warnock, a simple yes or no here. You will have a chance to explain, but I'd like a simple yes or no. Would you support President Biden running for a second term in 2024?
I've not spent a minute thinking about what politicians should run for what in 2024.
Is that a yes or a no?
The answer is I have not, and maybe this is difficult. Maybe this is difficult for people to understand because that's how politicians think. I think that part of the problem with our politics right now is that it's become too much about the politicians. You're asking me who's going to run in 24? The people of Georgia get to decide who's going to be their senator in 3 days, Monday. And I hope they'll show up and vote. And I'd be honored to represent them in the Senate.
You haven't thought about it. If you can think about it now, in 2024, the president will turn 82 years old. Are you concerned about his physical, his mental
dude, I'm going to
fitness
lose
at
it.
that
I'm going to
time?
lose it. I'm going to lose it. I can't say the things I want to say about this fucking moderator. I cannot say it is terms of service violation.
Regardless of who's in the White House. I'm honored to do that job every single day. My dad said if somebody hires you to do a job, do the job.
I'm literally, I can't say it. Nope, not the C word. Way worse things.
And I'm working every
Think
single day
Sanchovies,
for
okay?
hardworking families in Georgia, for our women, for our workers, and for kids
I just
like
can't.
me growing up in places.
I can't say it. I can't think it.
Walker,
I'm
former
losing my
President Trump is
fucking
also
mind,
considering
dude.
a run for the White House in 2024. If you can give me a simple yes or no answer, and we'll
Well,
give you
that's
time
kinda-
to
Yeah, because you
explain
can't
as
stand
well.
your side
Would
being
you
pressed.
support a Trump
Brother, that's
2024
not
run?
Yes, I
oppressing.
would. And let me
It's
tell you,
so
President Trump is my
one-sided.
friend.
This guy
Has nothing to
sitting
do
right
with-
there
has nothing
has
to do with
fucking
that. He's my friend.
mental
I won't,
complications that render
leave
him
my
incapable
ally.
of being a fucking politician, let alone driving a fucking car. He flashed a fake police badge.
They left their allies, and right now on a foreign stage, a lot of these people.
He
don't
literally
trust
is
us
doing
no more.
follow-up questions, be like,
They don't
answer the
trust us
question.
To be strong anymore, so they're waiting to see who's going to stand up, who's going to trust, they have no one to trust right now because I said President Trump is my friend, and he won't stand up with Biden when yet he's voted with him 96% of the time. Let's be real.
Mr. Walker, are you concerned about the ongoing legal investigations around the country and including here in Georgia? You have 30 seconds.
Well, first of all, I would hope that Senator Warnock, he and myself being people of color, would want the scales of justice to not have a hand on it. We want the Lady Justice to be blind, but in this instance here, Lady Justice is not blind. And I said right now, with everything that is going on, what I like to do is get to what's important. What's important is protecting the border. What's important is protecting people on the street. What's important is getting this inflation down. Not what's going on there in Washington, talking about whether President Trump is guilty or not guilty. What I want to do is see due process, which is what I hope Senator Warnock and myself would love to see.
Changing topics now, we're going to move forward just to give you guys both an update that you may want to know, although the news is not great if you're a Braves fan. Right now, they're in the top of the ninth inning, Game 3, National League Division Series, down 9-1 to the Phillies. Not a great night for the Braves. Just a few weeks ago, the World Series champs, though, they did visit the White House. Their visit sparked a renewed debate about the team's name and their signature tomahawk chop. Mr. Walker, do you believe the Braves should rethink their name, their logo, or their signature cheer? You have 30 seconds.
Not at all. You know, right now, we have too many other things to be concerned about. We have people dying on the streets in Atlanta, around the country. We have people living paycheck to paycheck, can't afford food to put on their table, can't afford gas. We have Putin out there. We have China out there. We can't be concerned about whether the Braves are going to change their name. We need to be concerned about saving
he's like Mr. Walker.
We need to be concerned about saving the Georgia people.
Do you like hamburgers?
Concerned about giving people a right to live the liberties and freedoms that the
Do you like hamburgers, Mr. Walker? Senator Warnock.
Warnock, the same question to you.
Senator Warnock, I fear that you are going to be responsible for the nuclear holocaust. Not a question that deserves a follow-up. Just wanted to put that out there.
Right about now. They've got a ways to go here. Listen, the management of the Braves is meeting with our tribes, and they're having a conversation about this. And I know the folks over at the Braves organization, and I trust that they and the tribes that they're talking to will come to a place that makes sense for all involved.
Senator Warnock, we're going to go ahead and continue. We want to get a few more questions in tonight. Senator Warnock, some of your Senate colleagues have called for expanding the number of seats on the Supreme Court. In 15 seconds, quickly, sir, would you support this?
What I support.
Expanding
Listen,
the seats on the Supreme Court.
I think that my job as a senator is to protect the rights of ordinary citizens. And for the first time, perhaps in my lifetime, we've seen those rights contract rather than expand, whether we're talking about the reproductive rights of women or voting rights. And I'm going to do everything I can to protect the rights of the citizens of Georgia.
Bro,
Thank you, Senator Warnock.
she said
Mr.
15
Walker,
seconds.
you support expanding the number of seats on the Supreme Court. In 15 seconds, sir.
Yes, when you get in Washington, you have to become a leader. Being a leader, you have to make tough decisions. And you see on that answer there, he really didn't give you an answer. So my answer is no. I wouldn't know.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now we have reached the point for final moments of this debate, a chance for your closing remarks. And you have 60 seconds.
I hate
You have 60
this.
seconds to answer, and Senator Warnock, you have the floor first.
Well, thank you so very much, Georgia. It's wonderful to be here. Listen, in this state, we have nearly 11 million people. And only 2 people.
Bro, Chris
get to
Hayes is getting his
represent us
news from
in
me.
the United States Senate, just 2.
That's insane.
And when I think about that, it is an awesome responsibility, one that humbles me and inspires me to work as hard as I can for hardworking families every single day. And I've worked with Democrats and Republicans in order to do that work. These are difficult times. These are dark times. But the scripture says that the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness overcometh it not. I'm honored to represent you in the Senate. I hope that you'll show up to vote early beginning Monday. I'd be honored to have your vote. God bless you. Keep the faith.
Mr. Walker, your turn for closing statements, and you have 60 seconds as well.
For those of you who are concerned about voting for me, a non-politician, I want you to think about the damage politicians like Joe Biden and Raphael Warnock have done to this country. I want you to think about Raphael Warnock, what he said today. And I said he was going to try to give you some smooth talk and tell you what's happening. What's happening is this country is hurting. What's happening is we need leaders. So what I want to say to you, Senator Warnock, is I want to thank you. I want to thank you for this. But at the same time, I want to say Georgia needs leaders. They need leaders that's going to stand up for them. So let's think about if we give Senator Warnock 6 more years, think of what this country will become. I'm not sure if we can make up for that.
Gentlemen,
So I
thank
said
you.
vote for Herschel Walker.
Thank you both, gentlemen. That's going to conclude our debate for this evening. Before we leave tonight, though, we want to remind voters that early voting begins in Georgia on Monday. It will run through November 4th. Election Day is November 8th.
Candidates, thank you. And
That was the worst thing I've ever seen. That was so fucking awful. Not as awful as, watching the top of the hour ad break, and instead of having an ad-free broadcasting experience, which, of course, if you're wondering how you can do that, well, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free. Obviously, Twitch Prime is free as long as you have an Amazon Prime account connected to your Twitch account, where you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. That was the worst thing I've ever seen. That was fucking insane. just when you think, will Nexstar, a hyper right-wing media group, can it get any worse? You realize, oh, wait, it fucking can actually. It could get so much worse. You ain't seen nothing yet. Every part of this conversation was fucking psychotic. Every part of this conversation was fucking psychotic. There was one brief mention of Herschel Walker's allegations with no fucking pushback whatsoever. What is this? The most swagged out nation? Okay, I don't care about this. GOP candidate Senator Herschel Walker says he's a cop and flashes a fake badge during his first debate. He did. He said it's not a prop, it's real. And literally, like, there were so many moments that I'm thinking back to right now, and it's mind-boggling to me how this went down. I think it's over. I think the country is over. I think our future is over. I think the media, remember, local news is the most trusted source of news in this country. And it has been completely overtaken by right-wing, billionaire-backed psychopaths. They took a litany of controversies that Herschel Walker has engaged in and summed it up to one tidy little question, which Herschel Walker immediately fucking steps aside and does not answer. They literally hammered on over and over again with a two-time punch on Raphael Warnock, talking about the fucking church, talking about how the church is actually kicking people away, an active lawsuit that's ongoing. And then followed up by, well, your wife wants more money in child support. What do you have to say to that? That is some of the most pathetic, that's just the most pathetic posturing I've ever seen. I know so many Dems love the We Go High nonsense, but I got ulcer watching this. How on earth, how could Warnock listen to Walker accuse Warnock of aborting black babies to applause without bringing up the Walker allegations in response? The gall of Walker here. He's right. That's crazy to me. Look at this. Look at this moment.
I want to save your life.
Well, what's funny,
We need
man,
to keep moving, Mr. Walker.
I have to respond to this.
Very quickly.
Because he told me Black Lives Matter.
Like, that's crazy. What about black babies' lives, he said, right? Black Lives Matter. What about black babies' lives? And Raphael Warnock couldn't go, Black lives certainly didn't matter to you. If you think abortion is murder, which you don't, then you are the only person on this stage that's responsible for direct murder. Or you don't believe abortion is murder.
And if you think about it, Senator, in Atlanta, Georgia, there's more black baby that is aborted than in the...
He was trying to say there's more black babies that are aborted than born, by the way, but he's too fucking CTE addled to be able to craft a fucking sentence together. I'm losing it, dude. I'm fucking losing it. And it made him look good. It made this fucking dude look good. The moderators were holding his fucking hand. The moderators literally held his hand so fucking hard that they stopped him when he was showing a prop badge. He literally was like, yeah, this is my badge. And then the moderators were like, stop it. They scolded him like a fucking child. That was insane. That white dude was, oh my God, he was fucking worse than the other lady. I saw that haircut. I was like, shit's not going to go well. Okay. I saw that lady's haircut and I thought to myself, I didn't want to say it at the time. I was like, shit's not going to be good today. Okay. This is not going to be a good day. But then that fucking white dude was like, oh, you think things are bad? Just you fucking wait. Just you wait. Look at this bar that they put up. Absolute graft crime by Nexstar to make abortion seem like a non-issue. Economy, 40%. Threats to democracy, 11.6%. Fucking 18.6%. Abortion access, 0%. You guys didn't see that? I'm sick and tired of it. Left-wingers, liberals, you need to be fucking showing your opponents guts on there, okay? You need to be gutting them. You need to be shanking these motherfuckers and letting their intestines just ride on stage. What the fuck is this shit, man? Slice them up. Slice them and fucking dice them. What the fuck is this? You cannot have a bigger fucking layup. You could not have had a bigger fucking layup than a horrible candidate like Herschel Walker. Sure, he was prepared very well. And Herschel Walker actually had a good an advantage. He had the same advantage that Joe Biden had. What is that advantage? It's low expectations. When you are expecting Herschel Walker to go up there and drool, and he actually doesn't drool all of a sudden, everyone's like, wait a minute, it's pretty good. This guy's actually outperforming our expectations. That's exactly what happened with Joe Biden. But beyond that, he was not capable of crafting sentences. I cannot believe that the moderators routinely allowed him to get away with not answering the questions. But god damn it, dude, I'm sick and tired of this shit. How much of an impact do you think this debate is going to have? They typically don't matter because debates are stupid, but zero idea about this one. I don't know, man. The moderators were absolutely either A, defending Walker routinely, or B, bouldering fucking Warnock. Now, Warnock has a 4-point advantage on Walker. Okay? But it was larger before. It was smaller before. It got larger, and now it's like leveled off. Okay? He's at 48%. Walker is at 44%. According to 538. Nexstar is also going to be doing the exclusive statewide live telecast debate between Oz, Dr. Oz, and also John Fetterman. That's going to be awful too. But it was absolute insanity. What we experienced there was so fucking bananas. Was the badge flashing in this debate? Yes. In Arizona, Katie Hobbs has been refusing to debate Carrie Lake, and that's maybe a good thing. There is no Democratic local news media. There is none. All local news is now controlled almost single-handedly by right-wing corporations. They're on to the memes. GTA our peers. Yeah, Brandon is a Hasan Abi head. Probably a Donnie fan too. The GTA role players. No debate so far this season has had any effect. None. There wasn't any effect in any race at all, but no one flashed a badge, which might actually matter because it's a funny 3-second clip. Legit might be the only thing that is remembered. Dude, I can't get over it. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit that it's like. First of all, this was a highly anticipated televised debate. Okay? This was a highly anticipated televised debate. This wasn't like any other debate. This wasn't like a normal one. Okay? And it was anticipated because Herschel Walker was going to do more of this shit. People thought that it was going to be like this. No one even fucking addressed the abortion thing. Are you joking? Like, what? They didn't even address the abortion thing at all. There was more conversation revolving around Raphael Warnock's takes on abortion. They spent more time on Raphael Warnock's position on abortion, which was also framed in the most right-wing way possible. Anytime somebody says, there's two ways to ask about abortions. You say, do you believe in a woman's right to choose? That's left-wing framing on abortion. You say, how far is too far? That's right-wing framing on abortion. You fucking turn around and you say, what is the line you will draw on abortion? That's right-wing framing. Everybody knows this. And Warnock has one option there. He has to say, hey, like, it's between a woman and her doctor. Because it's true. You're a fucking idiot, Hasan. Wait, no, he was so funny. He said, you're a fucking idiot, Hasan. I will debate you any day and literally fucking destroy you, says Pennymaster. I mean, that's pretty funny. Let's unban him. Let's see what he's got to say. They hand waved away everything. They hand waved away everything that Herschel Walker has done thus far.
And I've never pretended to be a police officer, and I've never threatened a shootout with the police.
Well, and now I have to respond to that.
We are moving on,
I have to
gentlemen.
respond to that. And you know what's so funny? I am with many police officers, and at the same time,
Mr.
He said, I'm with many police officers, as he flashed a fake badge. I can't get over it, man. What a fucking psychotic planet. What is happening in America? What's going on? And yet, the fact that they even had that conversation prior, the fact that they had this conversation prior where they were like, hey, you can't use your prop. We told you, you can't use your prop, blows my fucking mind. Okay? Which means him and his team went up to the fucking moderators and were like, hey, Herschel Walker, he's a little crazy. You know how it is. He might flash a fake cop badge. Now that is impersonating a law enforcement officer, is a federal crime. Could you make sure that our fucking, like, mentally not all there candidate doesn't get himself in trouble on stage? And the moderator's like, sure, we'll figure it out.
police officers, and at the same time,
Mr. Walker, Mr. Walker, Mr. Walker, Mr. Walker, excuse me, Mr. Walker. Please, out of respect, I need to let you know, Mr. Walker, you are very well aware of the rules tonight.
That's so funny. Like, she saved his ass. She straight up saved his ass, dude. That's wild to me. Like, you know the rules. You know the rules. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. While he's like trying to explain why he is a cop. Why would you do that?
Mr. Walker, excuse me, Mr. Walker. Please, out of respect, I need to let you know, Mr. Walker, you are very well aware of the rules tonight.
Yes.
And you have a prop.
Yes.
That is not allowed, sir. Yes. I ask you to put that prop away.
Well, it's not a prop. This is real. And he said, I have a problem. I never worked with law enforcement.
It is considered a prop, Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Like, he's literally trying to say, no, I did work in law enforcement. And she's like, sir, shut the fuck up. Like, she's one step away from being like, you're blowing it. Herschel, you're fucking blowing it, dog. We had a deal, Herschel. What's going on right now? What's happening? Live drafting? Yeah. Anti too quick with it. Were you expecting progress? No, man. I wasn't expecting progress. I was just expecting like some fucking content at least.
You're very well aware of the rules, aren't you?
Well,
Aren't you aware of the
he
rules?
brought up the truth. Let's talk about the truth.
Thank you for putting that
Yes.
prop away. And as a matter of fact, we still have a lot to get to.
I hope the takeaway is the badge thing, and it is remembered. It is remembered as like the main takeaway here, but yeah, DID can't be fucking cured. Like you can get help with treatment, but you can't cure it. For the record, that's the only time she pressed him. She didn't actually press him. She saved him. That's the problem. She saved his ass. She literally told him to put the fucking prop away like we discussed prior. She was doing damage control. Look, dumbasses are like, it's not a prop, it's real. Bro, it's a prop in that circumstance because he's not a fucking law enforcement officer. That is not the own you think it is. You're literally playing into it being more illegal. Your Honor, in my defense, I'm wearing an actual police officer's clothes as I was pulling someone over. Okay, these are real police officer clothes. They're not fake. This badge, real. Belongs to an actual cop. Okay? But also, doesn't even fucking matter.
President
Warnock, I've not spent a minute thinking about what politicians should run for. That was crazy. Would you support President Biden running for a second term in 2024? And then he couldn't give a good answer to that. Okay? He couldn't give a good answer to that. And then he hammered him again.
Biden running for a second term in 2024.
I've not spent a minute thinking about what politicians should run for what in 2024.
Is that a yes or a no?
Yeah, so he's like, is that a yes or a no?
The answer is I have not.
Would you support President?
Moderator, remember when we agreed backstage you weren't a police officer no matter how many domestic abuse allegations you have, Mr. Walker? Sir, please shut up. The mediators were fucking psychotic. He could have just easily said, whoever's the best person for Georgia, I will support because I only care about the people of Georgia. That's who I am beholden to. Oh my God. The Fetterman-Oz debate is literally going to be like, the moderator's going to call Fetterman the R word. You know what I mean? Like, they're literally going to be like, first of all, appropriate ableism when you have cognitive functions that literally render you unable to operate a vehicle or, you know, be in a position of office like Dianne Feinstein. That's appropriate ableism, okay? Or, of course, CTE like Herschel Walker. That's appropriate ableism. Inappropriate ableism is when you can't hear and then people try to turn that into appropriate ableism with respect to running for office, which is what they're doing to Fetterman right now. They're literally going to fucking call him the R word, okay, on stage. They're going to be like, Mr. Fetterman, Lieutenant Government, sir, many people are saying you are R-worded. How do you feel about that? Yes or no? You're going to say, sir, your brain is no good, actually. One of his DID alters a cop stop being ableist. You have 4 seconds to respond. You can't read! Diabetics gotta eat right. That was crazy. Type 1 diabetes gotta eat right.
Cost of insulin. He said he would not have voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, and I think he should.
He started off really well. This was a fucking strong point. He could have just, he was like, why? Why do you want insulin to be so expensive? He could have repeated that multiple times too. Repetition is not as big as a problem as you think it is. As Mehdi Hasan also correctly pointed out, people are going to be like, people are going to remember the 96%.
He should tell the people of Georgia why he thinks they should have expensive insulin and why the pharmaceutical companies should be able to charge us whatever they like.
Well, first of all, may I respond? I believe in reducing insulin, but at the same time, you got to eat right, because he may not know, and I know many people that's on insulin, and unless you have eating right, insulin is doing you no good.
That's a crazy take. The fuck do you mean unless you're eating right, insulin's doing you no good? No, man, it's surviving. You're surviving. You're not dying, brother. And there are people who just like, no matter how well they eat, you're still going to fucking die if you don't have it. Like type 1 diabetes, man. What the fuck? This man said Blastoise, die. That's what he said. He's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Just eat good. Oh, it doesn't work? Okay, you're dead now. CNN reporter, K-File's my dude, though. I don't know if that to debate changed anything, but the weird thing with the badge is definitely going to be what probably breaks through to people who didn't watch. There were 3 Herschel Walkers on that stage, the cop, CTE sports ball player, and the doctor. Are those his alters? Is that what it was? Oh, your pancreas doesn't function properly since you were an infant. Just eat right, bro. He said he's got a point. Just don't eat sugar. Dude, you are so dumb. There's no way to salvage your brain. Like my man said, don't eat any carbs. Like he thinks diabetics just eat fucking jelly beans or something. You know what else has sugar in it? Everything, you fucking idiot. Just drink water, dog. Are you type 1 diabetic? Just drink water. That's it. Did that guy just discover the cure for diabetes? Yeah. Yo, I know that comment is ignorant, but as a type 1, I hear this shit on a daily basis. It drives me absolute bananas. Hey, man, you can't say absolute bananas if you're type 1 diabetic. Has sugar in it. You're dead. You're dead now. Like, we're not even talking about the unhealthy, high sugar dietary choices that the American average meal offers. I'm just saying, like, people don't realize, like, everything has fucking fructose, dextrose, and glucose in it. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much. So much sugar is in everything. It's just, carbs are in everything. That's crazy. And also, you kind of need that too. The other part of the problem is also, again, the low expectation issue, right? Like the low expectation issue. That's why it's a W to like the, average voter that's like maybe going between, maybe like conservative leaning, thinking about Walker, thinking about Warnock. I don't know. That's so funny. Lisa Lehrer says this debate is I love the New York Times. Lisa Lehrer says this debate is going particularly deep on the morality component of abortion. Walker is a quite observant Christian and Warnock is a pastor. On what planet is Herschel Walker an observant Christian, Lisa Lehrer? Does your fucking publication not know that he also had multiple abortions and committed adultery multiple fucking times? What part of the Bible, man? I probably caution any pilots from handling Herschel Walker a plastic set of wings. Dude will show up at the cockpit of a 767 thinking he can fly from ATL to LAX. True. Anyway, my final take on this is honestly, you fuck the media. I mean, all the way from local news, all the way to the fucking New York Times. Okay, the lying New York Times. And also on top of that, I can't, oh my God, I hate this. I cannot believe how fucking devastatingly awful that was, how one-sided that was, how shitty that was in general. Hopefully it doesn't impact the election, outcomes as much. This is exactly what ended up happening, though. Yeah, when the expectations are set so low, small things are seen as gigantic fucking victories. Small concessions like Herschel Walker being like, yeah, I think Trump lost the election. Boom, that's seen as a dub for the average voter. He didn't answer a single fucking question. They asked him about nukes and shit. Oh, yeah. I did respond to this during the debate. That was devastating, man. Walker's minimum wage answer was bad. I didn't like that. I just didn't like any of that. A lot of that was not good. Okay? Not at all.